Thanks, Mark. Good job.
You're good to go.
Number of council.
Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, want to welcome everyone to council committee meeting. There's no one in attendance, so just, we have Councilor Capeters on Zoom. So we'll call this meeting to order. There's a few items to add to the agenda. Does anyone else have anything they want to add or delete? If not, then we'll move on to items for discussion. 3.1, the COVID update. Curtis, you want to go on this one? You're muted, Curtis.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so just to kind of update you guys, these are a couple of attachments that are just to provide context to some of the changes that the province has given. There's the February 2nd email, which is the municipality update for the changes that are coming effective yesterday. And then on Saturday of last week, the province decided to make additional changes unbeknownst to anybody with respects to participants in some of the team sport kind of opportunities. It wasn't necessarily sports games that can play, but more so practices or things of that nature. So those attachments are there, and those just for content. We added an additional picture. I don't think I've got another one that might have come yet, but as per council's direction, the crews have been working pretty hard at getting ponds on 7-8 at the golf course ready for public skating.
Fantastic.
That's
I think
an
it's
example of kind of what it's going to be looking like. We're not quite ready to go, but hopefully tomorrow night we'll have it available if anybody's crazy enough to go outside in the wind chills that we're having. But it's going to be quite a nice little addition to the community, and I'd just like to give a shout out to all of the staff of the community services department. We're doing a fantabulous job getting this
Echo,
right.
I'd like to echo that. That is such a wonderful
Yeah.
initiative, it really is.
For sure.
I wish they
Great.
would have done this like in November, but going forward, we can do this every year, like come November.
Yeah.
I love it.
Let's have it for the whole winter. It's gonna be a great addition going forward.
The beginning of a new recreation form.
Especially, like, you know, with the hills for tobogganing and like there's so much you could do out there. Winter wonderland, right?
Yeah.
We all echo what you're saying. This is a good job.
Thank you, staff.
So is that power right there too they're plugged into?
Yeah, there's two lights that'll be set up. We might be adding a little bit more as we go. There's a big floodlight on the back half of the clubhouse as well, so that the hill that kind of goes down to this 8-9 pond for tobogganing will have a bit of light on it. And it's something that we can slowly add little bits and pieces as we go. So it's not going to be a cost prohibitive measure, but something that we can build upon as time goes by.
So,
Propane heater.
Unless you get like a portable fire pit or something.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, that would be.
Or one of those places, one of those big patio heaters that are broken.
So if everything comes to pass as we anticipate, we'll make a posting tomorrow and have it potentially available for the public use tomorrow. That's the plan, but we'll just need to make sure some of the pieces come together.
That's great.
I did get a letter today from the Healthy Communities Initiative, because they have, well, what we're doing is, I have talked to the Home Hardware about having a lending library of skates and stuff like that, and he's perfectly willing. So they have money that they are gonna get some skates and stuff, and they also said, I just looked at an email that said that they could fund some lighting because it matches their criteria or something. Have they been in touch with you, Curtis?
Not to my knowledge, no, but
Okay. Yeah, they just said that follows some of their criteria that they do have funding for.
That's
So I
beautiful.
just saw that letter, so they want to, well, first they're funding lending some skates and stuff, you know, and the guy at Home Hardware that owns it said he would have a place there that people could go and trade out skates, you know, and
That's fantastic.
yeah, so that's
That's Andy. Yeah, that's great.
Andy, so I
That's
talked to
great.
him and he's, yeah, I just said to him, anytime you can get people in your store, it doesn't matter why they're in there. Just,
Exactly.
you wanna get some traffic in your store, and if, that's just a good way, and he was thrilled, he thought that was a great idea, and he's got a little space that he can use, so.
I
Right
know.
now, we're gathering up skates and stuff for that, so.
That can
that's a
just
good
be,
idea.
that can be just a little gem in the town of Raymond and on the golf course too. I mean, seriously, that could be, I know there are a few more people in New York City than there are in Raymond, but that little iconic skating place, right, you know, in
Oh,
Central
yeah,
Park, whatever,
that'll be
this would be
great.
such a neat little thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I love that, that setting is beautiful.
Yeah. Good job.
And I like the idea of the toboggan hills and the cross-country skiing and the whole works.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on then. Any more discussion? 3.2, the 2022 Southern Alberta Summer Games. I'm surprised this is here so quick. Go ahead, Curtis.
So as you know, in 2020, we were scheduled to host the Summer Games. The games were canceled due to COVID. The town of Claresholm was technically scheduled to host in 2021, and they chosen not to. And then the City of Medicine Hat was going to carry on as well with that, but that has now been canceled as well. So we're just looking to see if there's any appetite for the town, because initially we had mentioned 2022 is what we would be interested in hosting, or we would consider hosting again since we weren't able to do in 2020. It's not something we have to decide right now, but it does take about a year to prepare, and they're gonna wanna get some public statements out if they feel that 2022 is a possible year to host. And so if you are interested in going down that road, I just wanted to get some feedback. We don't necessarily have to host as big of games as we typically would. We could scale it down, so instead of being about 20 events, we could go down to 15 and have just the events in Raymond hosted here. Typically, it costs about $100,000 to host the Summer Games. We try to mitigate that obviously with grants from the Southern Alberta Summer Games Board, other private and government agencies to help assist with that, but the net cost is in that $25,000 to $50,000 range. If we were to eliminate a few of the games or a few of the sports, it would reduce it about by 25%, so it might cost us about $75,000 instead of that $100,000. We'd have a few less participants potentially, and it might be a little bit harder to get sponsors just due to COVID. We're not sure how that'll impact the business climate. However, at the same time, our local businesses have been struggling for coming on 2 years, and this would be a great boon to help assist them in a recovery, especially with some of the new additions we have in the community as of the last year and a bit. And so just curious kind of where you're at with this. If we'd like to extend a letter to some of our regional partners to see if they'd like to participate again, or if we're going to go a different direction.
So Curtis, just one question. What about Medicine Hat and Claresholm now?
Claresholm, I mean, they may want to, but we're ahead of them because we were in 2020. So they're gonna let us have the opportunity to take it first if we'd like. I'm not sure what Claresholm will do.
So Clarissa might do 2023.
Medicine had funding because they were supposed to host like the Alberta Games or something, a larger scale game, and that couldn't happen. But they needed to spend the money within a certain time. But something's happened there where I think the games have been canceled for 2021 as well, so.
Yeah, the Alberta games have been canceled for 2021.
Yep.
So, to me, it's a no-brainer. I'm in favor of it. That's just me.
You mean summer games?
Yeah, summer games
Yeah,
in
me too,
2022.
absolutely.
Yeah, I like the fact that, you
Oh,
know,
yeah, for
physically
sure.
struggling, it brings a lot of people in for those 4 days. It brings a lot of people in. They spend all the money right here.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
So there's not enough time in between their events to go into Lethbridge to spend the money. It's all right here.
Yeah.
So
My thoughts on this is, I think Hugh could take it to the meeting and talk about this with them, that we are interested. But maybe there's others interested too, so maybe they could just put us on the list. I don't know what everyone else
It
thinks.
indicated it's ours if we want it.
Yeah,
It's ours if we want
yeah.
yeah,
I just had a
Then,
comment.
Councilor Peters.
Councilor Peters?
I think with the negotiations with our regional partners, I think there's some things I'd like to see done proactively in that area. I think maybe before I commit to this, but I'm definitely interested in it. I think it's a good idea. It's to our town, and like you said, Curtis, the business could use a boost. But I think that we'd like to, have some discussions with some other people first.
That's very true. We need to go back to our one meeting and talk to them about if they're interested. before we commit to anything. That's very true. Good point. So can we go from there? Can we go back to a different meeting?
Yeah, that's totally fine. So we'll draft up a request, I guess, for support for 2022 from some of our regional partners. But I'll talk to our community services department. They can let Alberta Summer Games Board know that we are considering, and we'd like to get an answer to them in the near future.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, any other discussion? Then 3.3, Hells Creek Practice Range. Well, this one really confused me. It went from 14,000 to 174,000.
Well, it
A lot of
depends.
different choices there.
Yeah,
That's
Depends what you want
expensive.
done.
I never dreamed it would be that expensive to repair that fence.
So the practice
fences are
range,
expensive.
the west fence specifically, has started to fall down. Two of the posts are completely gone. One is leaning. They were put in before 1990, is to the best of our knowledge. So they do last quite a while. They're not necessarily as high as we'd like them, especially today. And so if we were to replace them, obviously we would put them in for a bit better use. We do lose quite a few balls to the properties on the sides, and it has been expressed that it's a bit of a safety concern for the adjacent property owner with their family that are there. And so this is really, to what I've understood, there aren't really many providers that can do this. The poles are just so excessively high that in the south there's really just this one entity. And so I'm just bringing this to your attention. It's probably something we need to be looking at and considering. The range is a fairly popular aspect of our course. And so I think we definitely want to make sure that it's still available. It does have a very long useful life. And so the return on investment definitely is there. But it does take time, and you have to finance it in the meantime. So this, if you're okay, I'd just like to bring this to you and we include it on our capital budget discussions when we get closer, once the province has indicated what we're going to have for capital grant funding this year.
I have a question, Curtis. How tall are the poles now? Like you have the 3 different heights here, like
I believe they're 20 feet.
They're 20 feet?
Above ground.
okay.
And so the recommendation would be to go 50 feet along the west side and 35 feet out on the south end. 20 to 35, one of the two, but it's $200,000.
So I have two thoughts, Curtis. One, you want it looking good. You don't want people to come and have it looking like it's run down and, not looking good. And the other is can we spread it out? Is there something that can be done this year and over the next 3 or 4 years?
Potentially. Yes, I'm sure it can be done. You're just going to have poles that, it gets tricky with the netting. So I think there's a way you can do it, but your netting is going to have to be higher. And if you don't have it extend all the way, then you're going to have gaps and seams in your netting. So I'm sure it can be done, yes. And that's something we can potentially look at for sure. This just came to me, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Well, maybe we need more info on it then, a little more detailed info in the future.
Well, there's not much more detail we can provide as to the replacement costs. It's really, we spend probably $10,000 a year on golf balls for the range because we do lose quite a few of them, and I'm still waiting to get a number on what the revenues we're making from the course or from the range. But within 10 years, you would have that paid back. To my best guess, it's just you got to fund it in the meantime, and so it'll last for 30 plus years. So there's definitely a good business case for it. It's just finding the financing to do it now.
Curtis, is there an ideal time of year to do it? Like between freeze up and between actively hitting golf balls, or is there a window or any time? Or does that not matter?
There isn't really a window. Ideally, it's nice to have it before the course opens, but it's not going to be that long of a process. Like the course, if we do have to do it during the season, the range will just be closed down for however long. But I don't believe it's a month-long process, a week, 2 weeks, maybe at the most. I don't really know that for sure though, but it's literally just pulling out the existing poles and putting the ones in, and then attaching the netting. So
So I believe money is gonna be tight, so I'd like to, maybe have brought back to us on what needs to be done and what has to be done and what our wants are.
Yeah, that's fine. We were just wanting to let you see it, and our recommendation was just to have it considered once we have a better idea what our capital grant programs are after the provinces announce their budget.
Yeah.
I think it should be considered if it's fallen down.
I think we're pretty clear what needs to be fixed, like the holes on this side and the holes in that end and everything else, so there's the patching part of it, but if you wanna go 50 feet instead of 20, that's gonna be major.
That's gonna be major.
Well, there's certain poles there's 2 poles that are completely missing, so the netting is loose, and 1 is tipping. So it's structurally not gonna make it a certain stretch of it, and so at least that portion would have to be replaced. But we can definitely have that conversation as we go.
Yeah, that's not a hard
Just time for it, yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't be something we'd be involved in, that's just something they would do, right? Just to put a couple of posts into,
No, yeah, this contractor would do all the work, we would just have to cut the check.
okay, anyone else have any?
And they got a monopoly on wind fences, eh, this company, so, wow.
To what I understand, there's no one else. I asked if there was other quotes that we could get, and I'm being told that this is the provider for the south.
Any other thoughts from anybody?
Well, if our golf course is starting to be profitable, we don't
Yeah.
want to,
And
we
it's
don't
gonna
want
be
it to go
beautiful.
to rack and ruin,
It's gotta
you
look
know?
good. I
There's
agree.
no
It has
sense in
to look
spending
nice, it has
$1.6
to-
million in the golf course and then having a fence that looks like it's derelict.
Yeah, exactly, cause that's the first thing that you sort of see when you go in there. I mean, I think we
And with
kinda,
golf, image means a lot of what it looks like.
yes, I think you kinda have to,
If it looks like a
we
pasture, you're not
we
gonna
can't
get people
ignore
out of
this, we have to make it right, because, you
Just
know,
gotta figure out a way
we
to
have
do it.
this beautiful golf course and we have to, take
But-
care of it,
But money is tight, so we gotta
yeah.
Yeah,
just do what we can too, so.
On a positive note, I'd like to mention, one of my coworkers is an avid golfer, and he golfs all over southern Alberta. And he said he came out to Raymond last year, and he just can come out once. He can't end up coming out 5 times. He said the people that run the course here are by far the nicest staff in any golf course that he golfs at.
wow,
That's
nice.
awesome.
And he said last year he golfed at 20 different golf courses in southern Alberta. So it's good to hear that our staff is treating the people that come in, so they come back. He said that's why he comes back, is because of the staff,
And it's a
Great.
nice course.
which is nice, and it's a nice course too.
Okay,
So that's something you can pass on to your staff there, Curtis.
Will do, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
okay. Move on to 3.4. Raymond Plaza.
Greg, you wanna open up that first attachment?
Sure will.
So this is just, Encore Drive-In Nights is the production company that, put on the drive-in, and this is their kind of 2020 year in review for, their drive-in partners. And so I just thought it was interesting to show, council the impact that it did have, overall. They had 4 concerts. Unfortunately, we missed getting in on the Garth Brooks show in June by like a day. Is that right, Greg?
Yeah, one day.
Yeah, it's too bad,
But there was,
That would've been sold out.
yeah.
yeah, it definitely would have. There was, they had a substantial amount of interest and feedback. It was very much trending. They had, I saw a number in here as to how many people actually attended, the number of vehicles, but it was very well attended.
21,000 attendees.
Sorry, what was that?
21,000.
Those are from the survey respondents.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. But I just thought it was helpful for you to see that it was successful overall, and we definitely had a very successful 3 shows here in Raymond. 2 of the 4 shows were sold out. One was started really late, and I think the lesson we learned from that is that we won't do that again. However, that even still, we had 40 or 50 vehicles come down, and of that, there were still probably of that group, all but maybe 4 were from out of the Raymond area, and a lot were from Calgary and Edmonton that had driven down to come see a show that started extremely late into the night. So we do think that this is a definite opportunity. We'd like to re-up with Encore Live for 2021 and keep that exclusive geographic right that we have to host this event again. That does lead to a challenge though. Our existing venue is slated to have some potential development on it if the necessary permit approvals are received this year, and the development applications and subdivision applications are in the process of being completed and submitted to the Municipal Planning Commission for review. So we're trying to find alternative locations. And so I did reach out to Westwind School Division because we had discussed where could we possibly host this going forward, and we kind of expressed the interest of maybe trying to see if it's something that we could utilize the existing schoolyard field for. And the letter that's attached to the second attachment, that can be public too, Greg, if you want to show that now. It's just at the time it hadn't been necessarily seen by Westwinds, and so I was waiting. But Westwinds did get back to me, and they're very much interested in pursuing this, but there are some concerns.
That's good.
So we're just going to see if we can work through those concerns with Westwinds, if we can come to an agreeable solution to help mitigate their challenges. We definitely would like to do that. The location of this venue is much better than our previous venue. It's much closer to the downtown core with our businesses. So all of those people who are coming and are looking to grab some food or go to the gas station or go to a park or the grocery store or a pharmacy, I mean, they're going to be much more centrally located, and was part of Roger Brooks's recommendation, was having so many nights of programming in your core. And so this is a way to kind of dovetail off of that. If we aren't able to work through the challenges, the couple of obstacles that are there with Westwinds, then we'll have to find an alternative site. But at least we'd like to try 1 or 2 trial shows with them to just kind of see how we can mitigate their concerns. But do you guys have any major issue with this proposed option as it stands?
I just had one concern. Right adjacent to this site is the Harmony Home Seniors. And I don't know if they're gonna really appreciate having a concert going at 10, 11 o'clock at night. The seniors. I think it's a great spot other than that. And that's not gonna make me decide not to want this spot, but I just think that's something you take into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would hold true anywhere in the community, and I mean, we wouldn't be, our noise bylaw technically says we can't go past 11, and these would be done by then typically.
Okay.
And so, and we aren't gonna be looking to do an after 11 show like we did last year. Last year with COVID and the first year of trying it, we tried everything and was just trying to learn from the experience. And so some of those learnings is that it's not worth doing that extra show for a litany of reasons, and one of them would just be the impact on neighbors. But I mean, there were football games there that would go fairly late into the evening as well.
The noise is inside the car, not outside.
For the most part.
For the most part.
There is a speaker that they have had
but it's
for
not
previous shows, but again, depending on how we're facing the speaker, I think we can mitigate some of that.
I do
But
too.
it is a concern, and that's a valid one. It hasn't been brought up yet, but that's something we can try and mitigate as best we can.
Like I said, I love the location, everything, I just wanna make sure that we consider that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
There was a day when the back of the junior high gym would have been a perfect screen, even.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
which would be really nice too.
Yeah.
I love the location.
I
It's
do.
so nice to have, snacks right across the street.
Yeah,
I think it's fantastic to have
Close.
something right in the heart of town.
I do too. Love it.
And it shows that the town is alive, even if it goes noisy till 11 o'clock.
Yeah, as long as we're not having second shows and stuff, I think the location's fine.
Yeah.
No, we won't have second shows, so unless we can start much earlier, but I doubt we'll be able to.
So I think there was lessons learned from the other one. We had some people complain, and the peace officers were there dealing with it. I had phone calls, I had to go down and visit with them, and I think we've learned some lessons there, and that's what he's talking about. We won't go that late.
It's a
Well-
challenge. I think sometimes it depends on the genre. And if your complaint is only based on the type of music, I think it's difficult to ascertain
Yeah.
That's true
Well,
too.
exactly.
what the
yeah.
complaint is actually based on. We don't really choose which artists are being shown. We only get to choose whether or not we show the show. And these are again all those learnings. The biggest complaints that we had was around Metallica, And it was their first show. It wasn't even the second show that we had no other complaints on. It was the first show.
Wow.
Because they had
Again, because
speakers.
it was, we had people that attended that really felt like it was a chance to, we had a guy bring a whole 5-speaker sound system and put it outside of his truck, you know. There's a few things that we need to position. We're nestled right up against homes. We don't, like, despite the fact that Harmony Homes is right there, it's actually, you know, from the layout that we're kind of preliminary looking at, it's far farther away than the homes that we were cuddled right up against behind Broadway there. So I do think I'm optimistic. It's difficult to really take, you know, this is a thing where if we go forward with it, you're going to have to accept that there's going to be a few phone calls. You know, it depends on whether they like the music or whether they don't. If it's loud, it's a valid, you know, it's a valid comment. I don't question that at all. We try to do our best. The drive-in, for the most part, the speakers are in their car. We didn't have any, we had no issues with people that came, even depending, it didn't even matter which genre or which band it was that played. You know, we had no issues with behavior at all. Our food trucks that came, we didn't really talk about that, but they sold out. Like, they all went away happy. And again, I think I love the connection that this has to our downtown core. It gives a perfect excuse for a lot of our businesses to pay attention and say, hey, how can we support this? You know, and it gives us a great partner with the school to talk about, you know, finding better opportunities for us to take advantage of our reciprocal agreement, because it's been very one-sided for a number of years.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I love the location. I think this just shows that this is a vibrant, alive town with a heartbeat that you can hear and you can feel. I love it.
And I was gonna echo what you said, Greg, about it is farther from residences than the other site, except for Harmony Home. And
Residences
that's
are
my,
only on one side.
that's my only
basically.
concern with Harmony Home, but it's not a huge concern.
Are they calling it Harmony Home now? Not Meadowlark
I
Manor
don't
anymore?
know where you got Harmony Home from, but
Yeah, it's Meadowlark.
it's
Meadowlark,
Meadowlark.
okay.
I thought Meadowlark was the other one.
No, that's
And then it's Marigold.
that's
Oh, it's Marigold, okay, sorry.
I've never
Harmony
heard
Home,
of
I've
it.
never even
I
heard
like
of
that.
it.
I like
I'm
the
going back to
name.
my Tabor
I
days,
haven't either.
Harmony Home's in Tabor.
Okay.
So
I
I'm
was
going back to
gonna
my
say,
Tabor days,
I
sorry.
was thinking I really missed something,
no.
cause I thought, did
Yeah,
they
who
change?
bought that out?
I'm on Ridge Country Housing Board and I'm thinking, did they change the
No,
name?
that's,
Did
yeah,
I miss that
I'm going back to my
somehow?
Tabor days.
I knew what you meant.
Okay,
That's
I
a
knew
big
what she meant
caution.
too.
Yeah, but
But I
it's just,
think, yeah, they are used to the lights there and
the pros
they are
outweigh
well-filled.
the caution, I understand that, I just wanna make sure we didn't just
And for
ignore
some
that.
of the residents of Marigold Manor, that's a highlight for them, you know,
Yeah.
when something goes on in that square.
I was just gonna say that, they'll probably love it, you know,
Yeah.
anything.
I know
that
one
we
guy
do.
used to live there a number of years ago, and he loved Friday Night Football,
Yeah.
Well,
you know.
We're looking at other ways to kind of include the stands that are there. There's maybe a possibility for us to find a way to have some sit-down, you know, entertainment there for the show, potentially.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, well, the you know, the seating stands are right there. So it, you know, we're looking at what options we have with Encore, but this isn't restricted simply to them either. This is.
Are the barriers that the West Wind is presenting, are they insurmountable? Are they,
No.
okay, good.
No, the concerns are just the wear on the field. Obviously, rivets, and because it's still primary use for their gym curriculum, and that's a valid concern. And so whether it's you know, just trying to maybe adjusting irrigation schedules so that the fields might be a little bit harder leading up to it, so that wear isn't going to be as significant. You know, obviously, if we break irrigation heads, we'd have to replace those, and we're fully aware of that.
Where are you proposing parking?
On the grass track or on the grass football field itself.
Yeah.
There was a time when Principal Ralph didn't even want soccer played on there because it impacted the, you know, the soil for everything.
Not
I mean,
anymore
so,
though, they go to the
Yeah, they.
to the
Yeah.
park.
yeah, which is a big solution that the town provided. So I like to see the partnership. I like to see the cooperation. And if we can work through the hurdles, I think it's a fantastic
think we can,
place.
Yeah, I mean, they just held their graduation grad on there with vehicles parked as the grads to how kind of manage COVID, and it didn't seem like there was a lot of damage to it. Now, yes, that was at the end of the season, and I mean, when these happen, they're going to be Friday and Saturday nights. There's going to be no overlap with when the kids are in school and the fields are really being utilized. we'll be able to manage that. So I think it's a good opportunity. I don't think they're insurmountable. Obviously, though, we do want to work with the principals. The school board itself is supportive. The principals had some concerns, which I think are valid, and they're looking out for the interests of the students. And we're motivated to try and find ways to meet those concerns if possible. And if not, we'll have to find another alternative. So.
Is there any way the existing bleachers can be utilized at our concerts?
Yeah, I think that's what Greg was referencing.
Good, excellent.
We'll see what we can arrange with our
Good job.
promoters.
I think we're all in favor of this.
Okay, so the other caveat to this is last year that we had some budget set aside. Instead of paying a company come down to put on the show, we would actually purchase a screen ourselves. We didn't go ahead with the purchase just because, for two reasons. One, we wanted to see how it actually worked first. And two, we had submitted a grant application to see if we could get it funded. We received word that we didn't receive that grant, and it was largely because we received a $125,000 grant for our walking trail kind of amenity expansion. And so they weren't gonna give us both. And so I'm just coming for, not to necessarily get your permission because you've already approved the capital expenses, just seeing if you're still in favor with us going ahead and purchasing that screen so that we're not spending X number of thousands of dollars from the profits that we're making for this company come down and set it up.
I am.
I am.
We'll be approving our budget before this is bought, won't we? Because
Well,
we'll
this
see.
is money from last
Already
year.
approved from last year.
It's money from last year, then that's different, but.
Yeah,
It has nothing to do with 2021's budget. It's 2020 money that you had allocated that we just haven't spent yet.
so it's basically approved.
Yeah. These are just one more reason to come to Raymond.
I think so
they're
too.
fantastic.
We've had Lethbridge Tourism actually reach out to us. I met with them at the end of last year. They want to do a partnership opportunity with some other lodging. So we're getting a lot of attention, and it's an interesting when the city wants to partner with the town on things like this. And geographically speaking, they're on the out with this particular group anyways, because they're outside of they're inside our.
I'm gonna put my mask on, hide my smile.
So, like I said, it is an exceptionally good thing, and I think we're seeing some very good success from it, for sure.
And part of the business case that we used to justify this purchase initially was that we would actually have a kind of an event staff. One of the individuals that worked for the company has family from here, or is from here, one of the two. And he would be more than willing to take the lead. And so we have someone who worked for the previous company who more than likely will take the lead and run this crew, so that they know how to set everything up and how the trailer should be rigged. And we'll be looking for event staff that would come and help and set this up on the day of. And then we can offer this out. I think we're even considering maybe partnering with Encore Live, the company, and saying, listen, your group from south here, instead of having you guys send your trucks down for Red Deer, maybe we'll take everything south of Calgary, right?
Nice.
And then
You never know where it'll end up.
so it's kind of a way to monetize the investment beyond just Raymond and provide a value to our municipal partners as well, so they're not having to spend the full cost of bringing the group down from Red Deer as well.
And that person might move to Raymond too, to head up this crew.
So unless there's any issue, we're gonna proceed with the purchase of the screen, and we're gonna secure our exclusive right again for 2021, and we will work out the venue one way or another.
So what was the cost of purchasing it over renting?
40.
Do you remember?
To purchase the screen, the projector, and the other nuts and bolts is gonna be just about 40 grand. Renting it was, I won't say because we got a deal, but it was about $4,000 if you weren't able to negotiate a deal per show. And so within a year, 4 shows at 4,000, 10 shows at 4,000, which is what Encore is doing, is the cost to purchase it yourself.
The only question I have is, like, I don't know, I hate to be a pessimist, but when COVID is all over and everything, are they still gonna do concerts this way, or are they going all back to live concerts? I hate to purchase this and all of a sudden it's done, there isn't anything.
There's room
So
for
the
both. When
slide
you treat
shows
75,000
there-
people, all over
Yeah.
North America, that's fantastic.
Like, has the Encore, do they have any data saying that this will carry on?
Yeah, this presentation talks about that, and what they found is that they've actually expanded the reach and the interest of people who normally wouldn't have the means or the ability to go to the larger centers to see the actual concerts. When you think about having to drop the kind of money you need to go and get a ticket at a larger venue, you're gonna have to travel, likely you'll have to stay and get a hotel. People either weren't interested in doing that or they couldn't afford it. Whereas this way, it's bringing it to the location instead of having the people have to go. It's bringing it out to the masses instead of having the masses have to go to specific locations. And so they feel that they've tapped into a whole new range and market of people that just were not part of the concert series previously. And they think that this is something, they have all intents and purposes of continuing. But even if it doesn't, there's still the business of movie nights and how communities would want to rent that. And I think there's, whether it's in Raymond or in the community for their celebration days or for other events in the south here, I think there's going to be value because there really isn't another group that can do it.
Okay, Councillor Capeters, you had a question?
No, I was gonna suggest what Curtis just finished off, what the potential we have for movie nights and other, presentations we're gonna use for July 1st or other special events. So I think it has value. I'd rather put money in our pockets than, paying to rent something.
Me too, I echo that too.
This is probably one of those good things that actually has come from COVID. There's
Yeah.
not a lot,
Yeah.
but this is one thing that's probably really good, and I think it has longevity. I think it's gonna, cause it's just a good idea. I can't believe that nobody didn't think of it before, right? I mean, it's come out of necessity, but it's a really good
And
idea.
it's another, even if we had movie nights and only 40 Raymond families benefit from it,
Exactly.
that's another offering we have for the community.
Yeah,
Whether anybody comes from outside of town or not, I think it's a beautiful
and you know, you
thing.
could even do like a chili cook-off with a movie or you know, just whatever.
Just
like
brings
a-
the community together.
You could name certain nights and have certain things happen with the movie, or you can get really creative and probably
Super
have
Bowl
a lot of
parties.
fun.
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
The
yeah.
value of using the Encore Live service is that this is a paid service. So people are paying through Ticketmaster, we just get a check. For Heritage Days, I mean, obviously we'll probably just be doing that as a free community movie, and we could potentially do that for other movie nights. But when you go to all those other communities, you're being paid to attend. And so that's revenue for the other community events that you're doing. You sell advertising in front of their movies, that's again revenue coming to the community. So it is literally I don't want to say it's a potential spin-off that we could put into through Sugar City, but it's a for-profit opportunity that isn't being met in the South. And if it has the ability for the revenues to come back to the community that can go and replace park benches or playground structures or whatever, there's a lot of value to that. So
Amen again.
Curtis, just to add to that, even outside of the economics, there aren't many opportunities that a small community has to drive that much outside traffic to it, outside of your heritage type days. That's obviously our granddaddy of events, but to have an opportunity to bring that much traffic to Raymond is very difficult, very, very hard,
Yeah.
and this meets a big metric on that.
I think this is a coup. What does it cost for us if we own the equipment to do a movie night? What does it cost us?
Licensing?
Yeah, $1,000?
No, less than that.
Less.
Yeah.
You know,
for
we
the
could
for the year,
for the year.
Yeah, it's for the
Wow.
year.
No, drive-ins have a different license, Curtis, so we have to do those kind of à la carte, but
okay. And then you have your staffing costs.
yeah.
To put on a fire show, like a fireworks show, costs us $10,000 plus.
Yeah.
You know, easy. I mean, that's a pretty cheap
It's
bang
not expensive.
for your buck. It really is.
Yeah, good point.
I love the whole thing. I still think it should happen.
When would the first one be booked for?
Well, possibly as early as the end of April, but we'll see what happens with the weather. We'll know more as spring arrives. They are hoping to get up and running in April with the promoter, so we have to get our ducks in a row earlier, regardless of, we can't predict the weather that far out. But I mean, the weather may obey, it may work with us, so it's difficult to say.
Yeah, end of April, beginning of May is when they're anticipating their first of 10 shows, which will be anything from concerts to UFC fights. So
The UFC fights worry me a little bit. You know, I can't imagine having a great big blood spattered screen out, in a neighborhood.
I've actually
People
saw.
love them, let me
I
tell
saw
you.
some
They're
some
not.
interest on that, and there was significant interest in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not blood battered. It's just, it's theater. It's
It's very
It's
entertaining.
like wrestling.
Oh, yeah, it's like wrestling, and people at the drop of a hat spend $100 plus to get pay-per-view wrestling.
Well, I think it should be illegal. There's cockfighting and dog fighting are illegal, but we let men and women do it, you know?
Yeah. Bare-fisted.
Okay, let's go, move on. 3.5, the bylaw 1099-21, Curtis?
This is just ahead, or every year we have to renew this bylaw. It's just to renew the line of credit, operating line of credit that we have with the town of Raymond. It's $500,000. We reduced that amount from like $5 million as of last year, down to 500,000. And so to date, we have not even had to step into it, and that's the intent, is to not have to step into it. Financially, as the Audit Finance Committee can attest, and for anyone who wants to go on the public agenda for the upcoming meeting as well, we're in a far better fiscal position financially than we were as of last year. And so I think we're in very good stead going forward. So we just are going to be needing this to be brought back for first, second, and third reading potentially next week at council meeting if you're willing. Otherwise, first reading and then advertise for two. But it's a lending instrument that we've already had for 10 or 15 years. We just reduced the credit amount from 4.5 to 5 million down to 500,000 last year, and we need to do this every year just to keep it current.
Okay, I think we understand that. That'll be next week, right?
Yes.
Okay, 3.6, the Beautification Committee.
Councillor Harker, do you want to take the lead on this?
Yeah,
or-
I want to speak to this. It's funny in talking to those women, they're just so afraid to ask for anything, or, it's almost comical, but it's kind of like, well, do we dare ask for, 10? I mean, it's gonna be, our things are falling apart, and I said, for heaven's sakes, ask for 20. Come on, like, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. Let's don't just piecemeal it and try to, fix these ones up. We need, well, really, they have 26, but she said, well, okay, we'll ask for 20. But, we're trying to attract businesses. We're talking about the Raymond Plaza. We talk about, let's talk about, putting our money where our mouth is, and we're gonna have people come into town. Let's make it as nice as we can. And
Agreed.
those barrels, I mean, they resurrected them, for heaven's sakes, basically from the town yard dump. And they've used those for how many, like 4 years now, so
Years.
it's just time that we put a little money into this. And
So these would replace those little half barrels?
yeah,
all
and
up
these
down.
are ones that
Self-watering.
they have the water reservoirs, so the watering will be less and the plants will probably be better, and it's just a good move.
We
It's
save
just a
money on
good-
the watering costs. And
Yeah, it's just a good thing to do. So yeah, it's $7,000, but I just think that they're doing a good job, and it's a good service, and we need to kind of do something for them.
That's 7,000 for 10?
That's for 20.
20.
for 20.
No, it's for 20.
3,500 for 10.
They didn't even know if they dared ask for 10.
Does that say 30?
But I said, just ask for what you
Says
want, and
34.29.
hopefully,
Does that say 350?
we did save some money from last year, and I just think that in lieu of wanting our town to look good, we need to do that.
I
Do you know what
think,
we have, like, how many of those barrels we have?
We have 26, I think.
26,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
this
I think they're
just about
asking for
replace it.
20.
I think 20 is
And,
plenty.
I think we put it on our budget.
These are nice.
We have to go through our budget again, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll have to cut back half of them, but
Yeah,
we'll put it on right now. Councillor Capeters?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, do we have a budget for the beautification committee, or is it kind of, we look at projects as they come and go? Is there a set line we have for them?
We have money set aside for the flower purchases. We don't have the money set aside for additional capital purchases. That's just kind of a annual consideration.
Okay, I agree with the mayor. I think we need to look at it, with all the other items and see if we can do it all together, if we need to maybe split it, do half and half maybe.
Yeah, when it comes up,
I agree with both of you. I think, not going to one AGM, in Edmonton or Calgary, I mean,
Exactly.
would more than pay for this.
exactly, And, you know, it's just, this is something that's very visible
For a long time,
for a long time,
in every season.
and every season.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's just,
And that's
I
a-
just think that, you know,
I didn't see here.
these ladies are putting in time and energy, and I just would
That's a
like
good
to.
committee, and we have to support them too.
We
so
have to
we
support
have to
them.
try.
You
And I didn't hear
can't,
one
you
request
can't.
for Christmas. I mean, did they request anything for?
Well,
Just
the-
a tree.
it was,
Just
we
the
won't
banners.
even talk about the banner fiasco, but that was a gong show. But, yeah, you know, it's all part of, you know, working with the plaza and everything, right, Greg? And trying to, you know, it's interesting because our Healthy Communities people watched that Roger Brooks video, and, you know, that was interesting. So, anyways, I just think that we need to really seriously consider this because
For sure.
it is important. I think it's really
When you think
important.
there's a 10-year warranty on those, and the lifetime is probably longer than that.
Yes.
That's why I saw the
You know,
warranty,
as
but
long
I
as
didn't
they-
see what
as
the
long as they
lifetime is,
don't,
the expectancy.
You know, as long as when they're doing sidewalks or whatever, they don't hit them or, you know,
Yeah,
whatever.
with the loader, yeah.
And, you know, I mean, these probably,
I think they're less susceptible to vandalism than the wooden crates, wooden barrels.
oh yeah,
you know?
probably for sure, you know, and they're, anyways.
So
I think
is
it's
there
a good
like,
investment.
is there a lifetime expectancy with these? Or
Well, they have
besides the
they have a
10-year warranty?
10-year warranty, which means they're probably gonna last a lot longer than that.
So that's $700 a year if you look at it that way.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cheap for,
But
I know you can't just find the money from nowhere. I know we
I
have to be
know,
responsible, but
I know,
I do think this
but-
is important.
But there are some things that I just think are important, and this is kind of important.
Okay, so that's gonna be included on our budget.
Absolutely.
3.7, the Corner Lake fish stocking, so I went out and visited with Jason, I've talked to him on the phone, and then you've seen the response back on his email. This is just to get the ball rolling. The field man again has some different ideas, and maybe he was told that maybe they could get bigger trout, so the size of their screens could be bigger yet, and the field man says maybe they could put them in early and then take them out before irrigation gets going. There's different ways to try to solve this, but the field man from the county is working on this too, so. I also sent him the RID's response, I sent that email to the field man of the county, so. Just so you're aware of what's going on, and we're just trying to get the ball rolling.
Good. I think that's important too.
Be nice to have fish in there.
That'd be great.
Mayor Depew, the letter that you signed was sent off to the Alberta Conservation Association, and they have responded saying thank you, they've received it, and it's being considered.
Yeah, that's true, they already responded back. Okay, that's good.
I just want to go back to those planters. I mean, I'm impressed by the range of colors that they come in. I mean, not only can this be a solution for the broken down barrels, but I mean, it can really make us a pop. You know, every time you see one on Main Street, I don't know what they're going for color.
They're just gonna do a gray.
Are they just gonna do plain?
Yeah, they're just doing
Okay.
plain, yeah.
Maybe we could.
That's too bad.
What, do you want red?
Maybe, seriously. I mean, the colors of the flowers are supposed to
They
be
can
highlight.
consider that, I don't know.
It just might be something for them to consider.
I will talk to them about
There
that.
are so many
'cause There are
options.
beautiful colors there.
And it doesn't
really are
increase the
beautiful
price, I don't
colors.
think either.
No, it doesn't. They're the
good.
same.
Okay, we're now to our closed session, so we do need a motion to go into closed.
I'll move.
Counselor Hagee makes that motion, all in favor?
Yes.
Okay, we're now closed.
Now I'm on.
You have a motion on the floor by Councillor Fromm to come out of camera. All in favor?
Yes.
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 Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're off camera, so I take.
Julia came over the other day with her cute